there's been in the last, certainly the last 6 months, I think it started earlier, kind of a steady drumbeat, if you will, of the sky is falling on full-time MBA programs. Okay. Um, and I think it reached a crescendo, at least a crescendo to date, in an article in the Wall Street Journal. Um, is the MBA worth it? And the conclusion was no. Um, I wasn't terribly impressed with this article, but I think that is a concern out there, especially since another drumbeat is that the country is headed towards recession.
Right.
So how would you address the sky is falling on the MBA program kind of point of view? And I think the more grounded concern about recession.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. I think that it definitely has. I think that you say the crescendo. I think that the momentum has picked up on this, or is the NBA worth it? Sort of refrain in that bandwagon. Yeah, obviously the caveat being that very I'm an interested party here. I do have a perspective that's grounded in being in an MBA program, but I legitimately feel that the value of the MBA has not diminished. Um, it still has the same benefits to its graduates that it never did. You can look at things like ROI, and it's still just as strong. It's actually stronger when you look at the first year salaries keep going up and sort of increasing at top schools. Um, I do think also that there are a number of different things happening that have contributed, I think, to the recent decline in applications. When you look at for non-U.S. applicants, so concerns over visa availability, the political climate in the U.S. For U.S. applicants, we've seen a softening there as well. The strong job market.
Right,
Employers, I think, are working hard to try and keep people in their jobs because it's a tight labor market.
right.
And I think these things are sort of temporary. I think that those will turn at some point. But the ROA is the same. And I think the skills you will get in an MBA, one other variable is the the growth in one-year master's programs, and to the extent that those are picking up, we hear about the level of overlap, and it's not huge, but the one thing that I've been thinking about, and we're going to look at the numbers, is these one-year masters have been around just enough where early on, these are early career programs, those candidates were not taking would not have applied to the MBA anyway because they were early career. They probably would not have been in the MBA pipeline. Those programs have been around long enough now that we're starting to maybe see the absence of some of those MBA applicants because they got a one-year master's now.
That's true.
Those few years later,
Yeah.
but I don't think those degrees are technical degrees. They don't have the same upside. They don't have the same um, benefit in terms of training you to be a leader and giving you the flexibility. I think the main value of the MBA program is that it gives you choice, it gives you flexibility, it allows you to do really whatever you want in the professional context. I have a legal background, so I went to law school and then practiced for a number of years, and I think the default belief was that getting a law degree was the key to do whatever you wanted. You could use it; it's very flexible, and you can do
It was
whatever
a
you want.
it was a good foundation for something.
Exactly. I really feel like that. I mean, I think that's possibly the case if you practice law for a few years. I feel like really the MBA is that the degree that provides that flexibility and provides the breadth that allows you to switch from one career to another or have multiple career switches and really do whatever you want. And I think that value has not diminished, and I think it's underappreciated still. So again, a long-winded answer, but I don't. I think the application numbers have gone down in the last couple of years, but I don't think the value of the MBA has diminished at all. And I think again, I'm an interested party. I think when the conditions change, then I think we'll see things return to a different equilibrium.
I think GMAC data also shows incredible satisfaction among alumni. If you look at their alumni surveys, um,
I think that's,
that's the other thing. The other thing is
and
a
I
lot of focus, I think, on the sticker price of the MBA, but a significant percentage of MBA students get financial aid that significantly reduces that sticker price. The sticker price is kind of like what you pay retail, but many applicants, they don't end up paying retail, and they can only find that out if they apply.
Yep.
They might get it for half off.
Yep.
They don't know. They might get it for much less than what the stated price is.
I think that's right. I think that's the same with undergraduate, where the what people actually pay is much different than what the sticker price is. I actually, for a few years, I've mostly jokingly floated the idea that we don't even have a tuition because it's so variable. It makes no sense to actually advertise a tuition or have a tuition because people pay different amounts. That's never gone very far, and I can understand why. But I think that's exactly right. And so our outgoing dean, Ted Snyder, he is quoted in a recent article about sticker price and the fact that business schools have really just kind of been on this slow march, pricing themselves out of the market. And I think there will be need to address. I think
Yes.
well, part of it is that not candidates not recognizing that you don't always. I mean, a good number of people pay sticker price, but then others don't. And so understanding that aspect, but also I think schools will need to try to correct and try to figure out what to do to
Yes.
make it,
Yeah.
price-wise more competitive. Thank you. And I guess I don't know if I could turn it around. The question about the MBA landscape is one that is always interesting to me, and I don't know if you can edit this out, but just to ask what your take is on the value of the MBA and where we are now, and if you have any thoughts on where you see it going.
I think the irony is I actually wrote a whole article. I was in the process of writing it when the article in the Wall Street Journal came out, and I was really ticked. I haven't published it yet. I think I will just publish it on our blog or perhaps on LinkedIn. But I think my answer would be a little bit more nuanced. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the MBA. I have an MBA myself. I feel it benefited me. I think that the cost of the MBA, the sticker price of the MBA, is a problem. At the same time, I think now is a fantastic time to go for the MBA because the application volume is down. It's a little bit easier to get into a top school. It's also, I think that there's more competition for the qualified accountants among the school, and that is leading to more financial aid. So that the fact that applicants are rejecting themselves from schools and choosing not to get an MBA because they fear that sticker price means that they're potentially missing out on life-changing opportunities. And so that's that. I think it's an individual decision that an applicant has to make, looking at where they're at and where they want to go. If the MBA is the vehicle for taking them to where they want to go, is the benefit of whatever it is where they want to go, both in financially and non-financially, personal
Right.
satisfaction, is that worth the cost? Both the full rate cost. If it's not, well, then you don't go unless you get a scholarship.
Yep.
Or you don't go to certain schools. You go to a less expensive school. Again, depends on what the individual's goals are. So basically, I agree with you, but a little bit more nuanced, I would say. There are
Yep.
some people for whom the MBA just isn't worth it, or the MBA isn't worth it unless they get into a certain programs, and that's okay. But I think that the idea that the sky is falling and it's a terrible time to get an MBA and the MBA isn't worth it because this guy went drinking with some guys who said it wasn't worth it. I mean, well, I just go drinking with the wrong people. That's all I can tell you. Okay. Again, the GMAC data shows overwhelming satisfaction. The salaries are good.
Yep.
Is it right for everybody? No. You should be thoughtful and purposeful about your MBA decision. And then I think it can be definitely worth it and a fantastic experience and a tremendous benefit to one's career and life. So
Yeah.
that's
No, I think
that's my answer.
Yeah, much more nuanced. I think much more thoughtful than mine. And I would just two quick
Well, we are in
add
different roles,
two quick points I would say, or
Yeah.
one point, one thought. This past year, we did see more people, to the extent they declined our offer, who declined not for another school, but for professional opportunity, more so than in the past. So I think, that speaks to, a number of different things. But I wonder if, to your point, that people are sort of testing out the MBA, but not being willing to get it at all costs, but thinking about whether it's the right thing for the price or given the other variables they're considering.
Right. timing. But I
Yeah,
mean, I do think that the schools, I certainly hope they haven't killed the goose that's laying the golden egg with the constant, I mean, the price increases have well exceeded the rate of inflation. Um, I got my MBA in the late 70s, and at the time, the quarter tuition was just about what I was paying in rent.
mm,
Okay. So, and I wasn't a particularly glamorous apartment either. It was a very plain Jane apartment, non-security building, no pool. Um, and, that means that I could have gotten my full, again, I went to UCLA, so it was on the quarter system. So basically you're talking 6 quarters or 6 months rent in West LA, which was even then an expensive area to rent. If you could get an MBA for 6 months rent,
yeah,
okay. So I think there is an issue there, but I still think it's an individual decision as I laid out, and I think there's a lot going for it that the articles, the sky falling down articles, don't relate.
yeah.
Okay.
No, I think that's right.